Dear YouTube community, this is the story of Pegasus, the winged horse born from Medusa's blood. He fought in battles with Perseus and Bellerophon, a hero who rode him to defeat the Chimera, a fierce beast with parts of lion, goat, and snake. Please support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Title: Pegasus the Winged Mythological Horse. The sky was stained a violent crimson over the edges of the world, where the great ocean merges with the eternal abyss, a place where reality blurs and myths breathe. In the cavern of the Gorgons, the silence was a heavy shroud, broken only by the rhythmic hissing of the serpents crowning Medusa's head. Perseus, the demigod whose life hung by a bronze thread, advanced backward, his eyes fixed on the distorted reflection in his polished shield. The air was thick with the scent of sulfur and ancient brine. With a movement choreographed by the gods themselves, the diamond sickle descended. The strike was clean, but the consequences were seismic. From the severed throat of the Gorgon, in an explosion of divine energy that defied the laws of nature, the blood did not merely soak the ground, it transmuted. The first flash was golden. Chrysaor, the giant of the golden sword, emerged with the force of a volcano, a warrior born of agony with a gaze reflecting a destiny of conquest and dark lineages. But behind him, with a neigh that tore the veil of the firmament and shook the very foundations of Olympus, rose Pegasus. He was a stallion of a whiteness, so pure it pained the eyes, a creature whose skin seemed woven from the foam of the waves and the light of the stars. His wings, immense and powerful, unfurled with the roar of a summer storm, shaking off drops of blood that, upon touching the surface of the ocean's springs, turned instantly into flowers of salt and sea foam. Chrysaor and Pegasus, brothers by blood but opposites by nature, locked eyes for a brief moment under the twilight of the island. The giant gripped his golden sword, representing the brute force and the wars to come, while Pegasus beat his wings, claiming the air as his true kingdom, the living symbol of liberty born from pain. Perseus, his heart racing and Medusa's head dripping in his wallet, realized his only hope of surviving the Gorgon sisters, Stheno and Euryale, who were already waking with cries of fury that cracked the rocks, was this winged being. The hero leaped onto the beast's back in an act of desperation and audacity. At that moment, the connection was electric. The first rider and the first flight merged into a dance of evasion and pure adrenaline. Pegasus did not merely run. He sliced through reality. They dodged the Gorgon's claws in a frantic pursuit through clouds charged with electricity, where the stallion's speed turned the wind into blades and the horizon into a blur of impossible colors. Perseus felt the power of Pegasus's muscles beneath him, an elemental force that sought not the glory of man, but the simple pleasure of an unchained existence. However, the spirit of Pegasus was too vast to be contained by the gratitude of a hero. After leaving Perseus in safe lands, the horse sought the solitude of the sacred peaks, far from the ambitions of mortals, who saw him as a tool rather than a miracle. His flight led him to Mount Helicon, the home of the Muses. Upon landing, the impact of his hoof was not a simple strike. It was an act of creation. From the rocky ground, where his hoof struck with the force of a lightning bolt, the Hippocrene spring gushed forth. It was not water that flowed from the earth, but the very essence of poetry, a liquid that vibrated with the frequency of the universe. The Muses, guardians of the arts, surrounded the stallion with songs that could stop the flow of rivers. In Pegasus, they found their totem, the emblem of artistic inspiration that only reaches those willing to fly above human misery. Pegasus became the guardian of beauty, a creature of peace who only wished to graze in the meadows of eternity. Yet the fate of extraordinary beings is always tied to conflict. In Corinth, ambition fermented in the heart of Bellerophon. Young, handsome, and haunted by a desire for greatness that bordered on madness, Bellerophon did not seek Pegasus's inspiration, but his power. Following palace intrigues and the advice of seers, the hero waited by the Pierian spring. The tension in the air was palpable, the silence broken only by the beating of Bellerophon's heart. Then, descending like a moonbeam, Pegasus appeared. The hero, armed with a bridle of pure gold given by Athena in a dream thick with symbolism, lunged at the creature. The battle for will was fierce. Pegasus reared up, his wings lashing the air and creating gusts that leveled trees. His neighs the cries of a freedom resisting domestication. But the magic of the bridle was absolute. Upon feeling the gold in his mouth, Pegasus's fury transformed into a melancholy submission. He had been captured by human cunning, and that union would mark the beginning of an era of fire and tragedy. The conflict escalated when the king of Lycia, caught in a web of lies and courtly envy, sent Bellerophon on a mission everyone considered a one-way journey: to destroy the Chimera. This was no ordinary beast. It was an aberration of nature that devoured the kingdom with its fiery breath. Pegasus, sensing his rider's fear, flew toward the east. The final battle took place over the craggy peaks of Lycia. The Chimera emerged from its cavern, a roaring lion's head spitting flames capable of melting iron, a goat's body providing supernatural agility, and a serpent's tail whose venom corroded stone. The dynamism of the combat was breathtaking. Pegasus performed impossible maneuvers, 360-degree turns in mid-air, to avoid the fiery blasts that singed his white feathers. Bellerophon, from his back, loosed arrows, but the Chimera's hide was harder than bronze. The drama reached its climax when the hero, in an unexpected turn of wit born of panic, placed a block of lead on the tip of his spear. In a suicidal dive, Pegasus lunged directly toward the lion's open maw. The heat of the beast's breath instantly melted the lead, and as its jaws snapped shut, the molten metal flowed down its throat, suffocating and searing its innards. The Chimera fell, a mass of fire and flesh, but the victory was the beginning of the end. Bellerophon's hubris grew until it darkened his reason. He believed himself a god, a being above mortality, and commanded Pegasus to fly toward the summit of Olympus, the Forbidden's dwelling. Pegasus, who still held the purity of his origin, felt the blasphemy in every wingbeat. Zeus, watching from his throne of clouds, did not permit the affront. With divine irony, he did not send a lightning bolt, but a humble gadfly. The insect stung Pegasus beneath his tail, and the pain, coupled with the horse's disgust for his rider's arrogance, caused the stallion to rear with a violence that no bridle could contain. Bellerophon was cast into the abyss, falling for days until he landed blind and crippled, wandering the earth as a reminder that men may ride inspiration, but never possess it. Pegasus, free at last, continued his ascent. Upon reaching the celestial halls, Zeus received him not as an animal, but as the bearer of his thunderbolts. His ability to fly became the measure of all elevated things, and his figure was etched into the celestial vault. Today, whenever an artist feels the spark of an idea or a poet writes a verse that defies gravity, it is the echo of Pegasus's gallop that resonates in their soul, reminding us that true freedom has wings and always seeks the way back to the stars.